One of the biggest pain points about building any product is actually not building the product, but writing the documentation for that product. It's always arduous, it seldom stays updated, and it becomes something that you need to hand off to technical writers, explain quite a bit of, and it takes a lot of effort to get documentation right. What if you could use AI as a technical writer and even use an AI technical writer with browser level controls that you could generate documentation on the fly and come up with really professional looking documentation at the end of it? In this video, I'm going to be looking at how you can use Claude Agent SDK as well as Agent Browser to combine it to make this super technical writer that is going to be great for your own product development, and how you can use this to automate your product development journey and your product user manuals on a regular, in fact, even on an every commit to commit basis. Well, let's get started with our video. So let me get to the demo and actually show you how this process works. So in this case, I've written an AI technical writer agent in Claude Agent SDK, and this essentially has three different sub-agents. And this is the first time I'm going into sub-agents in my videos. So basically, the agent works like this. This is the system prompt where we say that you are a highly experienced technical documentation expert. You're tasked with creating a user manual for a tool. So let's change this for a product name called OWASP Juice Shop. The high level details in your product are in the input.md file and so on. You have the idea is that there is some details about the product in the input.md file. If you look at the input.md file, you will see that it has some basic information on OWASP Juice Shop. Obviously, if you're doing this for a real product, you should have more information in here ideally. But in this case, we're not really bothering too much about it. We're just focusing on the basic information, and it's hosted on port localhost 3112. Let me just make sure it's actually running. Looks like Docker is not running. I had to restart my machine. So once I do that, I should be able to run Docker. I'm going to be running Juice Shop on port 3001. This is running. Now, once this is done, the idea is that we start off. So we ask it to use the agent browser skill. Now, this is the most important part of this agent. It's going to be using the agent browser skill. The agent browser is basically a project from Vercel, which is a Chromium browser using Playwright that's orchestrated for agentic purposes. So in this case, we're using that. So that's what we're using. We're using agent browser skill. This can be found online. If you go to Vercel agent browser, you will find the repository for this. You have the skills from this. I have verified the skills actually are doing something legitimate, and I'm using those skills from this for this, right? So that's what is happening here. So then we are calling the three major agents here. We are calling the research agent that walks through the application and captures information about the application. It does screenshotting. It does, I think we've removed video, but you can actually do videos as well. And then a technical writer agent that puts everything together. And finally, a verifier agent that will ensure that things are actually properly done, make sure that the sequence of events is correct, the images, the screenshots attached are correct, so on and so forth. The checks for hyperbole and all of that stuff. All of those things happen, and then it's basically done. So I always like this pattern, having multiple agents and then a verifier agent, which kind of verifies the work of the other agent. So I like that approach. We are using memory to track to-dos, which is something which is very common. This is something you would always want to do, ideally, because you want to give the agent a way to check off tasks, and that's what we're doing here. This is all going to be dumped into the output directory here, currently empty, but it's going to be dumped into that. That's basically what's happening here. I'm going to restart the terminal because I had to change some of the environment variables, and I will run main.py, and this should start working. I am not using Anthropic's models today. I'm using Minimax, which is another model provider that allows you to work with Claude Code. I like Minimax simply because it's cheap. It's way cheaper than Anthropic, and it gives you pretty decent performance, especially for these sort of things, right? So let's see whether it can do what it's supposed to do. In this case, it's looking for the file. Let's see whether it finds it. yeah, it's found the input.md file. So the first instruction is to find the input.md file and then go ahead. I should have probably given it the correct reference for the input.md file. I just said, look for it there and get started on that sort of thing. So now it's going to start looking at that, and then you'll see that it's doing this, going ahead and starting the walkthrough. So this is starting the research agent, and once this is done, the research agent will complete and then move on to the next agents that we have here. So now we have seen that one of the things that has happened is that the research agent has done its job, and we've moved on to the technical writer part. So if you see the research agent, you will see that the research agent has taken a ton of screenshots across the application. And now that is all being compiled. So this has been the research that has been compiled by the research agent. So remember 3 agents that we had. One was the research agent, one was the technical writer agent, and then we had the verifier agent. So I think what the agent is doing now is it's compiled the research and then it's walking through each and everything as the technical writer. So the technical writer is coming up with all of these different markdown files to walk through each and every module in this particular. So once this is done, there's going to be a verifier agent who's going to essentially check the work of the technical writer agent, make sure that the images and so on are properly mapped out so that these things are not inaccurate from that perspective, right? So this is really what is happening from the AI technical writer perspective. So we've essentially today used and built out a full-fledged technical writer, as you can see, with AI using Claude Agent SDK and browser. So it's literally that you can run this as a separate process, especially in fast changing applications. You can run this as a separate process. You can run this as part of your CI/CD pipeline after every major release or something like that. You have a lot of possibility of how you can use this and build out a very, very strong technical writing practice that is not even human-centric technical writing practice. It can be written completely by an agent. So this is what I wanted to showcase. In this video, I showcased the power of using sub-agents. I also looked at how you can use agent browser as a skill. In this case, we used it as a skill and not like an MCP tool. Skills are much lighter in terms of how they work, and the agent essentially uses commands and scripts from the skill to be able to perform much more efficient, much more lightweight tool calls rather than just MCP, which used to be the earlier default. So we are not using MCP in this case. We're just using skill for the agent browser. So with that, I come to the end of this video. I hope this was useful. If you're interested, please like this video and consider subscribing. It always helps us out with the algorithm. Thank you so much.